Can you kind of talk about your military background?
When I was cyber, I was pretty much a mixture of on keyboard and leadership the entire time. Even as a company commander, I was fortunate to have a dual hat helping out the task force as a mission director. When I came down to Georgia in CSD and JBOC, yeah, I was still working as an operator on 106 CNT while fulfilling those other roles.
When you made the decision to get out, was there excitement? Was there stress? Was there fear?
I was not really worried about finding a job. I didn't find a job. The question was about making sure that transition would accommodate the lifestyle that I needed. The most uncertainty was having to retranslate all that military experience into the private sector. Okay, I know what I can do. I know I have value to provide. I know somebody's going to make me an offer for something. How do I ensure that I am transitioning my career appropriately, that I'm getting compensated, and that I'm accounting for all the variables that the military you don't necessarily have to worry about?
Some of the challenges for transitioning to the private sector, are there unique challenges for cyber professionals, or is it kind of the same for everybody?
Definitely, there's a level of imposter syndrome because so much of what you're exposed to in the military is constructs of the military, whether it's procedures, policies, limitations, law, or whatever. But even the technology, right? There's a lot of times where you're working with customized tools or software or things like that. A big thing for me was cloud because the way that we work, very limited exposure to the cloud in terms of what we work on because of the need to do it from classified enclaves and things like that. But then where I work now, it's like everything's done in the cloud.
Yeah.
The base technology is really the same, but there's a learning curve there. And you do feel a little bit of the imposter syndrome, especially if you've done a good job taking your military experience, translating it into seniority in the outside. You're working with guys who are far junior than you, who can just run laps around you. They're like, oh, you don't know how this works? And you're like, no, I don't, but I'm going to figure it out. But then you get in those situations where the question comes up, hey, what's going on? We're looking at this malware. We're looking at this actor do this thing. And you're like, oh, obviously they're doing this. And what's really that's obvious. You're like, oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's just because it's intuitive to you because of what you've been doing.
What is the value of tailored strategic retention to a transitioning cyber soldier?
Like we said before, finding a job is not going to be the problem. It's finding the right job that meets your needs. Going through the process, it definitely is helpful to have those connections out there. I think most service members, when they're getting out, they know someone who's going to help them get in, or they're just kind of cold calling. TSR greatly increases the network by leveraging your network, essentially. I think there's a lot of value in being able to converse with someone who is willing to have that conversation with you one-on-one to really help to translate that experience. Service members don't realize that there's essentially a jumping point from when you get out to where you enter in the private sector. You're not going to be able to get your feet under you and then decide, oh, I should be 3 levels up now for my career. No, the private sector is going to take that first job as a translation of that experience. It's like transferring credits between schools, right? We can't go back necessarily. So I think that's a huge value of TSR.
Where you step off onto that new ladder, that's where you start climbing again. If you come in too low, there are no time and service, time and grade requirements to get promoted in the private sector. If you come in too high, you can fail and fail fast and fail hard. And then your reputation could take a hit. So it's about finding the right level for you.
A lot of people come out of the military, they're like, oh, I can be a project manager. There's a translation gap there. Then those skills, they're not exactly what you think in terms of equivalence. So just having someone to help explain that, I think that's incredibly valuable.
I also think about things like salary negotiation. When have we ever negotiated salary? And I can't tell you how many times I see people leave 20, 30, $40,000 on the table because they didn't ask.
In my situation where I had done some negotiations before, I really am kicking myself, not because I didn't have a good offer, I was really fortunate, but because there were the other aspects of things I needed to bring up in the salary negotiation. Those considerations coming out of the military, you don't think about all of that.
It's not always about money either. We talk to people about what kind of questions to ask at the end, or when you're talking to the hiring managers or the recruiters about travel or expectations, hours. And I just think none of us have any experience of that when we come out. What was your experience with TSR?
My experience was really good. I was able to communicate directly with everyone. It was really nice being able to just kind of vocalize, hey, here are the things I care about. Here are the things I don't care about necessarily. And you were able to tell me, well, you say you don't care about that, but you ought to care about this. There are a number of mentorship calls, and those are really valuable because I've got access to a lot of people who are out of the military or been in the military for a long time and transitioned out. So to get that different point of view, that's been incredibly valuable as well.
How does TSR differ from other transition programs?
There was a lot of stuff in TAP where I was like, I feel like that doesn't really apply for me, or that doesn't hit my concerns specifically. So being able to work in TSR and get some direct feedback and direct responses to what I thought was just like a unique situation, it just felt more personal that way and more tailored for a transitioning cyber person. Coming out of the TAP, right? People are going to take the resume, they're going to go and send it to a bunch of places online. Hey, I really want to get into this. Here's my resume. And TSR is able to, we know somebody who works in this industry. We know people here. We'll circulate it, see what their feedback is. SFL TAP was a great program, but it can't give you the very specific attention, nor the cyber specific emphasis that TSR can offer.
Why do you believe other cyber warriors should take advantage of TSR?
If they have any interest in continuing service, I think TSR is really no brainer. You get a better experience than just going through TAP. Developers, operators, EAs, they probably have offers before they ever ETS, but it's all that other stuff. You want to have a pretty smooth transition, and TSR is a great way to do that, and as well as to continue service.
Can you talk about what you're doing now for Palo Alto Networks?
I am a senior principal cyber research engineer. So I work on a team that predominantly works with the public sector. So I do a lot of work with JFHQ Doden, with our cyber, as well as other federal entities like state, local government, schools, and things like that. We help them with attack surface management, essentially help to give them the adversary's view of their assets as they're exposed to the internet in various different forms.
Is that what you thought you'd be doing?
If you had asked me 5 years ago, what would you do, outside of the military if you got out as an operator, the easy answer is a red team. But I definitely enjoy doing the researchy side of things. It's an opportunity to spend time exploring new things, definitely change your pace and lifestyle. I can't deny that there is a better quality of life. Like I'm at home right now, I'm just having lunch with my family. So that's great. I miss the Army dearly. It's hard to get that balance in the other way, and being able to serve in the reserves at the same time is really nice.
Thanks, Skyler. I really appreciate it.